There was a document posted to the Senate Legislative Council's website last night at 11:47 p.m. It vanished 9 minutes later. But in those 9 minutes, 3 congressional researchers downloaded it. And what that document reveals explains why, right now, the United States is functioning without a stable chain of command. Before we go any further, subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications, because what I'm about to show you will not appear on cable news. This is not speculation. This is not opinion. This is a constitutional crisis unfolding in real time, and it is documented. Before I explain what was inside that memo, you need to understand 3 events from the last 18 hours that the media is treating as unrelated, but they are not. First, a classified security briefing that activated continuity of government protocols. Second, a financial market signal that historically appears only before wars or coups. Third, a quiet legislative maneuver that allows Congress to bypass presidential authority entirely. These events happened independently, but they are preparing for the same scenario: a president who cannot or will not be restrained by constitutional limits. Let me walk you through this step by step. At 6:00 a.m. Wednesday, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff convened an emergency meeting at the Pentagon. It was not on the public schedule, it was not announced, but 3 defense officials confirmed it occurred, and confirmed the exact phrase used inside that room: continuity of government protocols. That phrase is not casual language. Continuity of government exists for one reason: to preserve constitutional authority during catastrophic failure, nuclear war, mass terror attacks, decapitation of leadership. The last time it was formally invoked, September 11th, 2001. When military leadership reviews these protocols, they are preparing for a breakdown in the chain of command. That meeting ended. 3.5 hours later, 9:30 a.m., the bond market opened. Treasury yields spiked instantly. To most people, that sounds like abstract finance. To institutional investors, it's an alarm. And that morning, something unprecedented happened. Goldman Sachs circulated an internal memo to major clients. It leaked within hours. Inside, it was a single phrase that froze seasoned traders. Institutional risk assessment elevated to Category 4. Category 4 is the highest classification Goldman uses. It is reserved for only 2 scenarios: war or coup. Not recession, not political drama, war or coup. That memo circulated at 9:30 a.m. 4.5 hours later, at 2 p.m., Senate leadership invoked an obscure parliamentary mechanism buried deep in Senate Rule 22. No press conference, no floor speeches. Just a procedural notation in the congressional record. What that maneuver does is critical. It creates a legal pathway for Congress to act without presidential approval if the executive branch becomes unresponsive or dangerous. 3 branches, 3 actions, 8 hours, all preparing for constitutional failure. Now let me tell you what was inside that 9-minute document. Its title: Memorandum on Presidential Authority Limitations During National Security Emergencies. It was authored by the Office of Senate Legal Counsel, nonpartisan constitutional lawyers whose sole job is defining the legal limits of power. It went live at 11:47 p.m. Tuesday. At 11:56 p.m., it was pulled after objections from White House counsel. But 9 minutes was enough. The memo has 4 sections. Section A analyzes Article 1 versus Article 2 powers, Congress versus the presidency. And it asks the most dangerous constitutional question possible: when those powers collide, who wins? The memo cites precedent going back 72 years, Youngstown Sheet and Tube versus Sawyer, 1952. President Truman attempted to seize steel mills during the Korean War under national security grounds. The Supreme Court stopped him, even in wartime, even for national defense, even with good intentions. The president cannot override Congress. That ruling has governed executive power for 7 decades. This memo uses that case as justification not to advise the president, but to override him. Section B goes further. It states plainly, the Senate retains authority to nullify emergency declarations by simple majority vote. That directly contradicts the National Emergencies Act. The memo argues Congress cannot permanently give away constitutional authority, even if it previously delegated it, but Section C is what triggered panic. Page 7, paragraph 4. In circumstances where executive actions threaten constitutional order, Congress possesses inherent authority to temporarily suspend military command transfer pending judicial review. Read that again. Suspend military command transfer. This memo provides legal justification for removing the president's control of the armed forces. That is why the document disappeared. But Section D went almost unnoticed. 14 names, all senior legal officers from the State Department's Office of Legal Advisor, career professionals, non-political, some with 20 years of service, On Wednesday, all 14 submitted resignation letters simultaneously. That office does not resign. When they do, they are sending a message. We cannot legally defend what comes next. At the Pentagon, senior military lawyers circulated internal guidance titled Distinguishing Lawful from Unlawful Orders. This document does not circulate during peacetime unless leadership anticipates illegal directives. It was sent to generals, not trainees. Then the intelligence community acted. 5 agencies simultaneously restricted White House access to top-secret compartmented intelligence. Translation: they do not trust the president. This is not disagreement. This is institutional self-protection. And that brings us to Senate Republicans. Wednesday morning, 6 senators met privately in Mitch McConnell's office. Before that meeting, Senate legal counsel briefed them on something unprecedented: personal criminal liability. Title 18 U.S. Code Section 2384, seditious conspiracy. If senators knowingly enable unconstitutional acts, they could face prosecution, not political fallout, criminal charges. That changed everything. McConnell laid out 3 risks: political, electoral, and legal. Political risk: we've survived. Electoral risk: we've managed before. Legal risk is permanent. Once indicted, your career's over. By the end of that meeting, all 6 agreed. And the next morning, Senate Resolution 47 was filed. This is not ceremonial. Its language is explosive. Notwithstanding any declaration by the executive, meaning the president has no authority here, the resolution allows the Senate to nullify emergency powers immediately by simple majority vote. No veto, no delay, no court intervention. They already have the votes, and there is nothing the president can do to stop it. That's why this moment is dangerous. History shows that when authoritarian power is cornered, escalation follows. The next 72 hours matter, because this isn't just about one president. It's about whether constitutional democracy still has antibodies, whether institutions can still restrain power, whether the rule of law survives or collapses into personal rule. This is history unfolding in real time. Subscribe, turn on notifications, because the Constitution is being tested, and soon we'll know if it still holds.